very much for joining us here on the SABC. Let us start here. How is the process so far with regard to fighting foot and mouth disease?
Well, obviously, the process from government side, we're doing everything we can. We've procured nearly 1 million vaccines. They've arrived in South Africa. We're rolling out a vaccination program in the affected provinces with a particular focus on KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, and, of course, the Northwest Province. We have 274 live cases around the country. And obviously, we need to get on top of this because it's causing huge uncertainty and economic harm to the red meat sector. And that is why it is here today to twofold, meet with the community and understand their concerns. And this is a particular interesting place because it's a communal herd. And when we make policy and decisions in our offices in Pretoria, we need to understand the context of what's actually happening on the ground and the concerns. So it was important for me to come and listen to some of those concerns, to allay some of the fears, but then also to take some homework away with me to work on a few things to see if we can make it easier to encourage more people to vaccinate their animals so we can get on top of foot and mouth.
And are you happy so far with how the vaccination program is going? Actually, in general, the fight against it, how is it going? The progress that you are registering?
Yeah, I'm happy, but I'm still very concerned that there are still people moving animals illegally around the country out of foot and mouth disease areas into other areas, and that's making the fight against this a lot harder. We have speculators, there are auction houses, there are transport companies, there are farmers and speculators that are involved in moving animals around or not doing the due diligence on animals. And we need to make absolutely sure that the law is being adhered to. Obviously, we are constrained. We have to rely on the SAPS and traffic services at a municipal and provincial level to help us with animal movement. But I'm very pleased with the vaccination rollout. We've procured vaccines and we're going to procure more. But I believe that the pathway, as a result of the indaba that we had with industry, with government, with scientists and veterinarians, we now have a pathway that's going to eventually lead to us becoming a FMD-free country. And that will then really unlock the potential for the livestock sector, particularly here in communal areas where people will be able to realize real value for the animals that they produce.
How many doses are you intending to buy?
Well, we've bought nearly 1 million now. We'll buy what's ever needed. Obviously, we'd also like to keep a small stock so that we don't have to procure again if there's an issue. And then in the first quarter of next year, we're hoping that the ARC will be able to come online with production of our own locally manufactured vaccine, which means we don't then have to go through Botswana anymore. We'll be able to procure our own, manufacture our own here, and then meet our own needs, and then potentially sell to the rest of the continent. But that will give us an inbuilt ability to ensure that we always have our own supply of vaccines here in South Africa.
And earlier on, you engaged with some farmers here, and they were, complaining about not being able to sell their cattle due to foot and mouth disease. In that instance, how do you support farmers who are, struggling to make ends meet because they can't sell their?
So we provide vaccination free of charge, first of all. Secondly, we're looking at creating local value with FMD approved abattoirs. There's an application now for 3 of them here in the Northwest Province. We already have 1 that's accredited. And once that happens, it makes it easier for the animals to be slaughtered. Remember, there's nothing wrong with the meat. As soon as the animal is slaughtered and its body temperature drops and its pH drops, the virus disappears. So there's nothing wrong with the meat. It can't transmit to humans. So they should be able to realize the value of the meat. The big issue is transportation to a much further place. So if we can get an abattoir closer to the FMD outbreak zone, it's then accredited, we're able to then make sure they're realizing full value and disincentivizing people to move animals in a unlawful manner.
And just those minutes, I know you might have answered this question, but maybe just expand more on the effect or the impact of foot and mouth disease. What is the impact?
So it has a huge economic impact. It essentially means that outside of the FMD free zones of the Northern Cape and the Western Cape, we cannot export beef to other countries. And this is a huge opportunity for us if we can get on top of foot and mouth disease. Many of these countries have now said they are willing to open up their markets with vaccination and track and traceability. So I see vaccination as a pathway to us being able to reopen these markets. Brazil, for instance, had some of their best years of exports of beef while they were undergoing their mass vaccination program. So the economic damage it does is that if we have uncontrolled outbreaks, it prevents dairy farmers, it prevents communal farmers and commercial farmers from being able to move cattle, and that obviously affects their business. And then finally, ultimately, the price ends up with the consumer. Like anything, it's supply and demand. When the supply is curtailed, when you have to have quarantines and restrictions, the prices go up. And I think we've seen that in our supermarkets and shops, and our meat has gone up. We hope that once we get a river of vaccinated animals back out into the supply, we'll be able to start to see the price going down.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.